EDC, everyday carry, tends to be a hot topic of conversation nowadays, especially with people that are just wanting to be prepared for whatever they expect they'll encounter throughout their day. Really awesome perspective to have. However, what we carry is going to be influenced by our perspective, our experience, our worldview, what type of life that we have. What I'm going to be carrying on my body today, what I'm going to show you, it's completely influenced by how I have lived throughout my life, my experience, and it's likely going to be different for yours. A lot of people in EDC, they maybe don't carry a firearm or a knife or any sort of medical aid gear. And so I do, and I'm going to explain why. For me, I served 10 years in the military. I currently serve as law enforcement. I am constantly seeing and dealing with the worst of humanity and being told a lot of threats against myself and my family. I will come find you or whatever. And so also I'll go grocery shopping and run into people I arrest frequently. And so for me, having the means to protect my family, myself, others, and also provide some sort of aid, and then just be prepared for just basic tasks throughout my day, that's important for me. I prefer the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Great advice, hurts my feelings every time. And that's my approach for today. So we're gonna start with my shades. I'm still rocking Gator Magnums. I love these. They are polarized sunglasses. I get polarized because I'm also a fishing guide and I like to be able to see in the water effectively. And then also having some good shades that you can shoot with and primarily look cool, because that's rule one. It's important. Next, my watch. I got the Garmin Tactical, still rolling with this nylon strap. It's held up fine for me. I replaced the factory one because at work someone grabbed my watch and ripped the band. This one is held up really good. It's been really rigid. I'll put a link in the description to that. Now we're gonna move to the waistline, and I'm gonna start with my knife. Generally, I carry folders. Right now, I'm running a fixed blade. This is the Humit knife by Halface Blades, and I love this knife. I've never had a knife that feels so good in the hand, and you feel the quality instantly. By far the most money I've ever paid for a knife, but I can honestly say I don't regret it at all. So far, it's held up great for me. Yeah, this knife is awesome. So what I'm doing is I'm running it here in my appendix because for me, it's important that I can access it by both hands. Okay, because I can't control if I roll into a room or go somewhere, someone, grabs me, wraps me up. If I can grab it by either hand, that's important to me. That's something that I learned in the SOCP program, where that Benchmade SOCP knife gets its name. SOCP stands for Special Operations Combatives Program, and I'm actually gonna be doing some more videos on those blades in the near future. But the premise of that knife is you have it centerline, and that's the principle. And so I applied that principle by how I'm carrying this. I'm carrying it with this clip here on my belt. And so this is their Ulti clip. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it holds super secure onto my pants, and then my belt can suck it in tight between my abs and obliques right here. So it's got a nice place where it can fit, and it holds pretty tight to my body. It also has this hook right here where you can put it on some molly, and I threw it on my kit for work just to see how it felt, and it holds real good in that molly, and it holds real tight if you want to mount it on some kit. Halface blades, they also have some other options, some other clips that you can mount on here. They also have these straps, and to where you're able to mount it horizontally on your belt if you want to do that, if you want to do it on the small of your back. I'm not a fan of that. I like to have control of my essential equipment right here, and we can talk more about that later, but that's the knife I'm carrying, the Humit by Halface Blades. Although this is my primary right now, real quick, I'm going to show you a couple other ones that I generally carry because, like I said before, my everyday carry not only changes pretty much every day, but also throughout the day if I'm going to the gym, if I'm going to church, if I'm going to work or whatever. And so sometimes I'm not going to be carrying a whole fixed blade knife, right? Let's just be real. Benchmade Mini Freak. This is my prime. This is probably the one I carry the most. I really like this one. This, I forgot the name of this one, but it's by Warrior Poet Society. Really cool. pretty cool blade you can punch with and stuff. I haven't carried it in a while, but I did carry it for a long time. A lot of times I will put this little Gerber, it's the Gerber dime. I'll put this in my pocket, and it's very small, you know, puny pliers, I know, but it has a lot of tools on it, scissors and stuff, and even these really cool tweezers right here too. If I think I'm gonna need something like this, if I'm like working on my property or something and I'm not carrying one of my nut rucks, like one of my Everly stock bags, then sometimes I'll have this in my body too. And it takes up next to no space. Generally, if I'm not carrying a fanny pack, I like to have only one knife and keep things as simple as possible. And like I said, this is what I'm rolling with right now. Next, I'm going into my tourniquet. So the tourniquet that I'm carrying right now is the Snakestaff Systems Everyday Carry Tourniquet, the ETQ 2.0. So this is one of the brand new ones, just came out a couple weeks ago. And just like the knife, it's very important that your tourniquet is accessible by both hands. I have a tourniquet video that I can link to this one that you can check that out, and I talk into more nuances of that, of gear setup in relation to medical gear. But so here I got my ETQ accessible by both hands. All right, so I'm just gonna pull it out of this little sleeve, and this tourniquet, it's an inch wide, just came out. It is not TCCC approved, but there's only a couple of tourniquets that ever have been anyways. And I have a full video on my channel where I talk about the first version of this tourniquet in the wide, first version, and you can go back and reference that. Really, this one seems like it's more rigid on the strap, and I've never applied this on an actual casualty yet, but I don't have any doubts so far, and it's passed a lot of tests that I've watched and stuff. I'm confident carrying this. I was carrying the rats for a little bit, and I very quickly decided I'm not going to carry that tourniquet anymore. But I really like how this tourniquet can really disappear on my body. And also, one of the big things that's really important to me is this tourniquet, it will work on kids and canines. Most importantly, kids. So if you're carrying a cat tourniquet, for example, and I'm not meaning to make this a full-on tourniquet video, but just some considerations. This tourniquet, it will only go that tight. That's the tightest it will go because it has this plastic chunk right here, okay? And then you have this gap and this buckle. Most kids' limbs they're smaller than that. There is no way you can get occlusion on a lot of little kids with this tourniquet. So I'm not saying don't carry this. If you do, just keep that in mind, and don't think that if you throw this on a kid and you need to always check the bleeding, reassess, right? But something to keep in mind if you're carrying a cat. Also, for the love of God, if you're carrying a cat, don't do this. Also, any tourniquet you have, take it out of the plastic. I see people carrying tourniquets like this in the plastic. There's no point. Remove it, prep it, just like I had mine prepped. This one, it's just I have a whole bunch of these extra. This is not what I'm carrying. Point being, if you're carrying a tourniquet, have it prepped, have it ready to rock and roll, so that way you're not having to mess around with stuff that you should have done ahead of time while your buddy or somebody else is literally bleeding out and about to die. A couple other tourniquets that some people like to carry are the soft T tourniquet. You can snake that down your leg if you want. I don't like doing that. The rats, I don't recommend, but you can route this through the belt. I did it for a while. It was a cool idea, but it is not a user-friendly tourniquet in my personal opinion. And then you have the wide by Snakestaff Systems. So one other thing to pay attention to with this sleeve is if you're running it against the skin like I'm doing right now, this material, this webbing can get kind of sharp, especially when it gets stretched. And so what I did is I took a lighter and I kind of smoothed it out a little bit. Burn it very lightly, kind of like you would with 550, cutting it and capping it. And then I just smoothed it off, and that helped me a lot. Obviously, don't do that when your tourniquet is inside of it, because you want to make sure that you don't compromise the structural integrity of your tourniquet. That is how I am rolling with my tourniquet right now. Next is my wallet. So I'm still rolling with the Groove wallet. Makes you look super cool at the store when you flip out your cards like that. It's just kind of fun to do. This thing is RFID proof or whatever. I got my debit cards in here, driver's license, insurance, commission card, Costco card because I'm an adult. I got a $100 cash. Cash is king. Important to have cash. I got a piece of Write in the Rain paper with some emergency contacts written down because electronics do fail. Not a matter of if, but when. And so having some redundancy in my communications is very important to me. This lighter, this is something that I carry on me most of the time because my lifestyle, I'm always making fires. What I did is, it's just a regular Bic lighter, but I got 3 rows of tape on this thing. So wrapped that a few times, twice, and then I got a row of E-tape, electrical tape. And what's really cool about this, the duct tape, is you can rip it off and light it, and it's an amazing fire starter. I'm not going to do that right now because this studio is in my house and I don't want to sell a fire alarm. But yes, I carry this a lot and I use it very often. Next, I got my phone. My phone has a flashlight. However, it's not the only flashlight that I'm carrying all the time, and I will explain more. My keys. Okay, on my keys, I have a flashlight that I'm now carrying on my body pretty much every day. And this came from one of you guys in the comments. Also, by the way, I really appreciate your guys' comments that are very educated. And that's how I learned about Snakestaff systems. That's how I learned about this company. This is the Aurora. I forgot the name of the company. It's like it's some strange name. I'll just like everything else, I'll put a link in the description. But this thing is so bright, and you charge it. It has a ton of different settings. This is what I set it to. And then I just put this 550 cord on it right here, and I capped it like I was talking about. And then I just put it on this S-beaner for my keys, and I can't even really notice it's there, and it's super bright. I go outside at night and this thing lights everything up. So one of the things I'm the most impressed with recently, that I've recently added to my everyday carry, and that's one that I pretty much do carry everywhere, and I love it. Another flashlight that I carry, I'm not gonna go over it now because it's not really on my body, but when I'm carrying a fanny pack, I generally roll with the Surefire Stiletto, which will be covered in my fanny pack nut ruck videos. All right, next we're gonna go over my pistola. I am carrying in the 4 o'clock position. Clear this out. Clear. All right, so what I'm primarily carrying right now is the Glock 48 MOS. Been carrying this for probably the last year and a half. I'm still absolutely loving this. What I got on it right here is I got the Streamlight TLR7 light. Very bright light, very streamlined. I got the Holosun 507K. I got my elevated suppressor sights so I can pick them up through my optic. And then I got a Griffin's Arms compensator, which I really like a lot. Also, some guys were asking in my last video what the Cerakote color is on this. It's Midnight Bronze. Super cool. So, and then I had a buddy do the stippling on here and some other custom stuff. A couple considerations to keep in mind is magazines and mag capacity. Whether I agree with it or not, there are legalities. You know, some states are 10 round mags, and all I'm saying is I recommend you pay attention to the laws in your state, that you abide by those, and that you roll accordingly in how you carry. So sometimes I carry the Shield Arms mags, and sometimes I carry the stock. The Glock 48 stock is 10+1. The Shield Arms mags, you can do 15+1, which is the same as the Glock 19. But I know some guys have issues with the Shield Arms mags bending and having malfunctions. I haven't experienced that yet, and I know a lot of good buddies that are top-notch shooters that are carrying them too, and I don't know of any of them that have really had any issues with them. So maybe people that are having them bent are dropping their gear on the range and doing reloads, and maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. But for me, they've been fine. Going back to legalities, knife blade length is something to pay attention to as well. Don't just go around carrying a 5-inch blade, fixed blade, or some spring assist blade if you live in certain states that aren't going to be very friendly to those type of rights that we have. Check those out. That could save you a lot of heartache with dangerous weapons laws and stuff like that. Lastly, what I got on my belt, on my hip, is my actual belt itself. So I'm still rolling with the Groovelife belt. Very streamlined, very slick, very rigid. I do like it. I like everything about it. I've been running this belt for a while. What I did notice is I've been running a lot of different holsters lately. My favorite is Tier 1. Really hard to beat those guys, but you're gonna pay for that customization and, you know, that more Gucci'd out gear. One I decided to do very recently is I've been seeing a lot about We the People holsters. This is my first one. I just got it. And I wanted to do a lot of different holsters with this pistola. It's okay, very basic standard holster. But what I noticed is with their clip, how the style is, and with this belt, it doesn't hook on very well. And so I carry in the 4 o'clock position. For me, it makes sense. I do acknowledge that appendix, for me, I believe is the most tactically superior option for the same reasons I was discussing about the knife and the tourniquet. Accessibility, both hands, stuff like that. Really good control. It's so uncomfortable for me. It used to be a mental barrier thing for me, but then it just became, I got past that. I got a nice Tier 1 appendix holster, and then, but I was still just, I'd bend over and it's so uncomfortable for me. So I'm sticking with 4 o'clock. That's what I like to do. That's how I like to run. And this is a holster I'm trying right now, but I'll cover more holsters in the future. It's important to have a good pair of laced shoes, so that way you can get up and boogie and that you have some good traction and actually be able to operate in. I find that very important. So that covers what I'm currently carrying on my body right now when it's just I'm gonna call it my level 1 everyday carry gear on my body, not including any sort of pack. So as you're considering what to carry on your person every day, it's gonna change all the time, like I said, and that's totally okay. But just make sure that it's comfortable, because if it's not gonna be sustainable. You're gonna stop carrying certain things, and then all of a sudden you need something and you don't have it. So set your gear up in a configuration where it's comfortable and retainable. Say you need to get up and run, and now you're a yard sale and you're dropping mags and stuff like that. These are just practical things to take into consideration because they're real and they'll affect your sustainability of carrying these items. Lastly, I recommend doing a stress test. Throw all your gear on, get a buddy, download any weapons, make sure the scene's safe, do some burpees, take some shots, do some draws, incorporate some different tests, and be like, okay, and that's how you're gonna really know if you like a certain configuration or not. So this is what I'm carrying right now. Again, you may be carrying something completely different. You might not even carry half of this, but you might carry a bunch more stuff. That's why I'm carrying what I'm carrying now, because for me, as a Christian man, I believe that I should be able to not only protect myself, but primarily protect my family and others. Also, the world out there that we live in, the reality, it is not a safe place. I would also encourage you, if you're even pastors, lawyers, different sort of government officials, don't only rely on your security teams. I recommend that, you know, if you're a high visibility person, you carry some sort of thing to protect yourself. So I hope this helps you. If nothing else, this is a lot of fun. And so EDC, for a lot of people, it's also just a hobby, but which for me, I do enjoy it. It's also, I look at it as there's lives on the line, and whenever I come across a situation, I'm gonna do my best to be able to help people out the right way and utilize the training that I have. Please throw in the comments what you think about this gear, what I'm carrying, and if you have any suggestions, please keep them coming. I do read them, I do pay attention, I do look up the gear that you guys suggest, and it's really improved what I carry in my readiness in my personal life. Thank you guys, and we'll see you soon.